in 2026, the housing market is clearly healing. What we saw at the end of 2025 for December in existing home sales are monsters. Folks, if you haven't heard, we did 4.14 million units in November. That's the annualized number. We were expected to do 4.22 million in December. We actually did 4.35 million. So we grew by 5% in December. What does this mean? Well, there's a couple of things. First and foremost, you have to remember these are actual transactions. So a transaction that closes in December probably got into contract in October or November. So we have not even seen the goodness from lower rates. If you guys aren't paying attention, December was a noticeable tick down in rates, only to be ignited by even lower rates in January. To that end, we had mortgage rates on Friday priced at 5.99. What happened? Well, refi demand spiked 40% week on week. Purchase demand spiked 16% week on week. Overall mortgage demand was up 28%. And if you want to get the coup de grace, refinances were up 128% year on year. What does this all mean? Well, I think it means one thing. The housing market is healing. And for the first time in 3 years, housing will be a positive contributor to GDP. Folks, we have posted numbers last year, such as 5.2% for Q3, and that was with housing being a negative or a draw. What happens when transactions rise, refinances rise, money starts circulating in the system more? Well, if anything is like the history, consumers are going to spend. Matt, that is a whole bunch of goodness, a lot of positive momentum. Seems like it's a good time to be in mortgage.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I've seen some renewed optimism, mortgage, real estate, and all things related. And it starts with the consumer. Like you said, when home sales are up 5.1% in December, that's a reason to think that there's some tailwind. And as much as rates coming down surely helped, and as much as an announcement from the current administration, they're buying $200 billion in mortgage-backed securities, which further decreases rates. Like, I think there's an overall sentiment that, you can't find a data point necessarily to point to this, but I think people are feeling more renewed optimism in housing, and it's probably justified. If you've got an administration that is throwing all kinds of stuff out there. Some of it will work, some of it won't, some of it will stick and will become law, some of it won't. But nonetheless, they're doing things to promote housing. To your point, everybody wants a strong housing market. It helps create a stronger, country and GDP numbers. And so I'm certainly seeing that on the ground level, which always for me, much more than digging through spreadsheets or crunching numbers. I'm just sharing, here's what I'm hearing, here's what I'm seeing on daily calls, being out there at realtors, broker opens and open houses and whatnot. And, I can tell you that I definitely feel it. I've got real estate agents I'm talking to. They're like, holy cow. It feels like a little bit of a shift. Tons of places, Sacramento included, where it felt really buyer's market-esque and leverage. I got a past client who reached out to his real estate agent, who then reached out to me. Hey, I talked to Cody. He's in the market and he liked this house. And unfortunately, sometimes the buyers, or consumers haven't caught wind of the shift yet. So they're still in I can get a great deal. I love this house. It's listed at $725. It's nice. They'll probably get some interest, but I wouldn't want to pay above that $725. So agent calls the list side and says, hey, Mr. and Mrs. List side, you've been on for 6 days. What's the action like? 12 offers, well above 750. And, that's what, if nothing else, I'm not here to say that all markets are like this, all homes are like this, or warning home prices are going to go crazy this year. But what people should understand is that the winds can change in any given market, not super quick. Not one day to the next, it's a 180, but relatively quickly, where if there's opportunity, and that's where I saw something posted, and I see this every day in my business. Somebody finds a great deal, but they want a little bit better than great, right? Like it's listed for this, I can get it for this. You go back and forth, and then a little bit of optimism comes back to the market. Rates come down a little bit. Somebody just steps right over you, goes, you know what? I'll pay $1,040,000. And you were back and forth between, $1,015,000 and $1,025,000 trying to get the best deal versus like, you know what? I countered, seller countered, then I countered, then seller countered. Let's just go $1,025,000. That's still a great deal. But, human nature, you get greedy. And now, like what I'm afraid of, Mike, if we want to talk 2026 fears, I'm afraid of people, not adapting fast enough and slowly letting things kind of slip away. A month ago, 2 months ago, you can offer 50,000 below list. It won't work today. Maybe you can get it for 10 or 15, but then maybe next month you're paying list price. Maybe 3 months from now, spring buying season comes along and it's competitive, and it's an age-old tale. And I'll end it with this. If you hire a real estate agent or you're working with a mortgage professional and you like them and you trust them and they're the professional, you must listen to their advice. If you're not going to listen to their advice, find somebody different who you respect enough to listen. Because when I tell somebody something, I go, listen, I got a great business and I don't need to make the next sale. And right. I'm talking to 85 pre-approved clients, whether you buy this month, next month, or never, honestly is not going to affect me and my business. But I'll tell you what, this area you're looking at, here's what I know. Here's how you should approach the market. Here's what you should keep in mind. I'm saying that genuinely trying to help. You need to be able to receive that as a consumer.
Well, actually, I have 3 points here. And, the opening of this conversation stands. The momentum in housing is unquestionably positive. Existing home sales up 5% month on month. Again, remember, folks, those contracts were October and November. The best rates of the year are ahead for existing home sales. So that's the baseline of this. What are things that you can't argue, that Crash Bros can't even argue? 1, we are about to enter the spring selling season across the country. Somewhere between January 15th and May 15th, depending on your state and your locale and your weather, you will enter the spring selling season. And in 2025, the spring selling season was a dud. It was the highest interest rates of the year. It was the taper or the tariff tantrum. It was fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So the last year's spring selling season was garbage. This one's going to be better, unquestionably better. We can argue it might even be 10, 15, 20% better. That's just how bad last year was. So that's point 1. Point 2, President Trump, his entire administration, is aimed at making housing more affordable. To your point, they are throwing everything and the kitchen sink against the wall. If you think for 1 minute they're done, you're an idiot. There are lots of more announcements coming. Again, some of them will work, like buying $200 million in MBS, and some of them won't, like getting institutions out of the market. Some of them are just for politics and perception. Some of them will lower rates. So again, he's coming, he's got more bullets, and he's going to fire them all. And then number 3, consumers. We have had for 3 years, 2 million, between 1.5 and 2 million less transactions than we normally should have had. So if we just assume every year had 1.5 less, that means there are 4.5 million transactions just waiting to be initiated. And that's without including the 1.5 from this year. So with all of that said, positive momentum, lower rates are ahead. Administration is focused. Consumers, finally coming off the sidelines. And then to your last point, if we just get a sprinkling of, competition, i.e. 12 offers on one house, if we get that in most of the country, it is going to be a wild spring selling season. Wild.
Yeah. And hopefully it's a convergence of some positive things. My hope would be, hey, if we've got a lot of demand and we see demand ramping up and there's buyers, there's some sellers that were kind of maybe sell, maybe don't. Bring them all out. because that's, in my opinion, what we're looking for, some sort of equilibrium where, supply meets demand. So prices don't have to have upward pressure and go up because, I think about all the pre-approved buyers I got. I think about all the conversations I've had about affordability and how it's tough. And quite honestly, the last thing I want is for us to go 5, 6, 8, 10% home price appreciation in 2026. The way we avoid that is enough inventory and enough, supply to come out to meet the demand, which I think it's a done deal. The demand is coming back. I already see it.
Yeah. This is the wrinkle, and I've been debating this wrinkle for 2 years. So we know without question, and we have another example of that last week. 599 brings buyers. It doesn't bring sellers, right? This move-up buyer, for the most part, still not in the market. Do they come in at 5.8? A couple. Do they come in at 5.5? Probably a few. But I really think it's got to go sub 5 to just unlock a torrent. And to be clear, I don't think we go sub 5. I'm calling 5.8 is the low for the year. So again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year, because it could very quickly, to your point, get unbalanced. If we don't unlock the move-up buyer and all we do is fester more demand, we go back to 2021 craziness.
Right. Yeah. And I think I've heard some things, and, the Meet Kevins of the internet and others that are, finding some one-off articles and reading up on, proposed solutions to housing. I think that even excluding move-up buyers and just including people who own real estate and for one reason or another wouldn't sell, whether it's capital gains, whether it's not the price that they want. I think that we need to figure out a way to unlock those. There's plenty of stuff out there. If you sell to a first-time home buyer, you don't pay capital gains, whether it's primary investment, whatever. Like, you don't need an exclusion.
That would be game. That right. I mean, I want to hit that again. If there was a rule that said if you sell your house, primary, second home, investment, to a first-time home buyer, capital gains are completely free. That would be game changing. In fact, I might sell a couple of houses if that happened. That is game changing. Right.
Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that would be great for housing and doesn't seem that difficult of a lift, especially that demographic. First time home buyers, you'd think of, the affordable homes that investors own, or maybe like, what, as a rental, this thing is, kind of a lot of work, and,
it's older home and stuff.
Selling is because my basis is this, it's worth this, and I don't want 35% going to the government. Yep. So I'm just going to hold on to it. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. You've got to be, if you're in this industry, excited that there seems to be a bunch of energy and attention towards it. Like, I was on a call this morning, Mike, UWM, largest lender in the country, who, has really been a player, I would say, the last 10 to 15 years, more, even though they celebrated their 40-year anniversary. It was founded by Ishbia's dad in 1986. Currently, right now, they're going to have their biggest January of all time. They are seeing 1,000 refinances a day being submitted and 500 or 600 purchases a day being submitted. So we got action. Action.
It's funny you bring this up, because again, you and I had a talk at the end of the year, and I tried to tell mortgage brokers, buckle up, you're going to have a good year, right? I said the pie is going to grow by 10%. And oh, by the way, there's 60% less people eating, which means some of you are going to have your best year ever. I'm now willing to say, I think the pie grows by 25%, and you still have 60% less people. So it is going to be an amazing year for the top 10 or 20% of mortgage brokers.
Yeah. And me personally, been doing it long enough, and I've ebbed and flowed with kind of goals and where I see my business or want my business even, a balanced life with a couple of kiddos that are only going to be in the house for so many years. So what I'm saying is, if you introduced a way for me to 10x my business, I would say no, thank you, because I know what that takes sacrifice wise and time wise. But
you'll take a double. You'll take an easy double.
And I'm looking at it, Mike, and I'm being realistic about, like, without even hiring or adding a lot of help, I'm going to do 50 or 60% more this year.
Easy.
I mean,
layup.
Without even trying.
Yeah, I agree. If you don't double your business this year without any more expenses, there's something wrong. Let's just be clear. You got to have better goals than that. Right. You got a double with no increased overhead. I think it's coming. I think what you're hearing in January is, once this momentum hits the mainstream, which probably doesn't happen until March, and like most people, it'll be too late. And then the people will just come out of the woodwork. But that's why we're early. And that's why I've told everybody in the brother, I started cash out refis in December, because I wanted to have the dry powder so I can go shopping at this last little window. So again, we're timing the market pretty good. So a lot of
fun. Yeah. There's a lot of people, I responded to a few people, and I'll speak on refi real quick. All these announcements happen. There's some momentum, and you see rates come down. Rates don't go in a straight line. For all we know, rates go flat or go up to 6.1 or 6.2 over the next 3 months. And so, you see that window, just like in purchase, you take advantage of it. So there's a lot of people that are at the end of a 2-1 buy down, or they bought, during Q4 of the couple of years where we were in the 7s, and, refinancing down to a 5.99 looks really, really
good.
Sexy. And so doing a lot of refinances. Real quick, MTMG, if you want to connect with me and my team. And I've got a lot of people that you go to the site, you chat with the team, whether you want to jump on a call and schedule a call, you just want your questions answered. I went away from having you fill out 12 pieces of data, and name, email, phone, where are you at? Just connect and chat with us online. We'll find a way to connect, get you with the right people who can help you. And we're ready for it, Mike. I'm ready for that double. And I know that without even focusing on, how many loans we're going to close, we're certainly going to help more people this year.
That's why you're here.
Networking meeting this morning where it was cool. I'm with an insurance guy, with a financial advisor. I'm with someone who runs, payroll and compliance. And we all were sharing stories like, you know what? We're all in the same business. We just help people. Insurance guy talked to somebody where they took one word off of one of his insurance policies and saved him $1,500 a year. That was pretty cool. That was a fun win and helping the consumer. But first step as a consumer, you got to help yourself. You got to reach out to someone who knows what they're talking about. That's why you go to mtmg.com.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you so much. Again, I think you're going to have an amazing year. Let's go for a double. Again, if you don't double, I'm going to come over and kick you in the ass. Anyway, take care. mtmg.com. Later.
Yep.